Okay, everybody, I'm here with Andy, one of my students in the meditation course, and we're just gonna talk about meditation and how it's helped him a little bit. So, Andy, over to you. First question, if it's all right, is what was going on in your life around the time that you got interested in meditation, and what was it that drove you to do a course?
Yeah, so it was right around a little like past COVID and being kind of isolated in our homes. My stress levels started going up. Work was a little more busy with a lot of big projects. And I started experiencing stress in a new way, kind of overwhelming stress, leading to like panic attacks and really starting to infringe on my well-being. Sorry, I have the cat here. um, so I started looking online, different things that I could do to kind of help manage the stress. And I think I came across you on Instagram when you had started your page and started following you. And a lot of the posts that you were writing were really, hitting home. So I signed up for your uh, deep meditation class and yeah, that's what kind of like led me to exploring. And I had tried kind of like other apps like Calm and I was doing that before, and some of those weren't like quite working. So um, it was kind of like a better environment for me to be kind of like with an instructor or have somebody that you can speak to, ask questions, that kind of thing.
Great, great. And what kind of benefits did you notice when you first started doing it? Did you feel immediate benefits or did it take a while for them to kick in?
So it's kind of funny because I remember in one of the classes while we were taking the class, um, I had never meditated really before to like know like what to do or what to expect, etc. And I remember feeling kind of like and asking you on the course, and I was like, I think I was sleeping, but I wasn't sleeping. Like I'm kind of there, but I'm not there. Aware of my thoughts, but kind of like in a different way. And I just remember during that session too, um, tears running down like my cheek, and I'm just um, it was just something different that I'd never like really felt. So it was kind of like a release of like stress. Um, but I will say that when I was overly stressed like that, it took a while for me to get back to like a equal equilibrium of myself. And obviously, I did a bunch of different, I was watching what I was eating, I was taking supplements, I was prioritizing sleep. Um, so the effects were immediate and weren't like I could feel them within a session, but I like not throughout my like overall life. And it took a while for that to kind of build. So the one thing that kind of led me to you into like meditation, it wasn't kind of like a quick fix. Um, but since I've been continuing practicing, it's now I'm really seeing like the benefits that it's bringing in my life. So it kind of led me to like different kind of benefits than what I was looking for originally.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because a lot of people these days they try and use meditation as like a band-aid for the moment. It's like, okay, now I'm stressed, so I'll do this thing to get rid of my stress. But they're not realizing that actually it's the consistent daily practice that builds up over time that is going to have the powerful effect on the mind and the body. So, yeah, I'm so glad that you stuck with it, and I'm so glad that you've discovered that for yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes even like meditating while being that stressed was like so difficult, and it was like a really hard thing to like sit through sometimes for like 20 minutes. But I would do it anyways, and I think you kept saying like trust the process and keep keep going. So I'm glad that I did.
Awesome, awesome. And so did you notice what specific kind of benefits? Did you notice things within your work? Did you find like, for example, a lot of the people I teach, they say, "Oh, I suddenly got more creative," or I was suddenly able to do more. Is there anything that comes to mind around that? Or
I think more so from a work perspective, I felt I can now like handle my work, like the things that used to stress me at work are more manageable. So like I don't get as stressed with like the same types of deadlines or like situations. Um, so that I think is where I've seen like the most impact in my work life. Um, just managing like the day-to-day stressors, I feel like comes easier to me.
yeah, yeah, I found the same when I very first learned that it had an immediate impact on that. And then also, if you don't mind me asking, what about family and relationships? Quite often when people start meditating, it has a an impact in how we relate to people and how they relate back to us.
Yeah, so I think that's where I'm starting to see like more of like the bigger benefits. Um, just kind of in the sense of like my um interaction with my kids. So I've always like tried to be like, I have two kids, they're aged 10 and 6. And I've always tried to kind of like, or I always thought that I was kind of like, calm or trying to, stay calm, especially when we were going through like struggles but what really like clicked recently was my daughter, 6 years old, uh, just having a complete meltdown because she wanted to wear, I don't know, some dress. I do know actually. And she had worn that dress, like little kids, they continuously like wear the same thing. So my wife and I were trying to get her to wear um, just a different dress. We were going out and we wanted to, and it was kind of like this struggle back and forth. And she was really having like this really big meltdown. And I remember looking at her and she's crying. And I kind of like shifted, like, I remember that moment. I just shifted my perspective and I was um, just really like more aware and more, I had like way more like empathy with her. Like, I mean, she wasn't hurt, like she was hurting emotionally, but she wasn't like physically like, injured or anything. So it was just, and I remember having a different, that was kind of like a moment where I really kind of was able to empathize with her and like kind of just stop what I was doing and just shift my attention. And I feel like I could do that like more. I mean, it's not perfect. I still get overwhelmed with emotion. I still get, angry sometimes, etc. But it's really helped me be more aware of like how I'm feeling when feelings come up, um, and kind of deal with them a little more in like kind of like real time, I guess, instead of like reacting and then thinking about it like later. Like, why did I react that way? I'm kind of like more aware as I'm reacting like in the moment.
Exactly, perfect. Yeah, you what you've just described there is one of the key things that everybody's looking for, really, which is equanimity, that ability to not be pushed or pulled by inner forces. And like you've quite rightly said, it's not like we become some kind of stone Buddha or we become emotionless. Of course, we all have our triggers and we all have our things these days, but we can yeah, find a way to, yeah, just take a step back, let things go on and regulate ourselves. And quite often, what happens because of co-regulation is because I manage to stay regulated and I manage to stay calm, the other person will have their flare up, but then they'll come down much more quickly and they'll become regulated. Even if they're a non-meditating person, they'll just feel that from you. So, yeah, that's great. And I appreciate you sharing that because I'm sure there's people who are going to watch this who are going to think, well, yeah, my kid has a meltdown from time to time. So, yeah, I'm sure that's
I mean,
applicable to a lot of people.
I think with children, the most, right? Because they're so either just growing and they're learning how to like deal with emotion. And it's a really, I mean, I wish I'd started sooner when my son was younger. I didn't have this tool available to me. Um, so I'm glad that I'm now at a point where I'm continuing the practice. I think I mentioned like it's kind of like it's constant and it's not constant. Like there's times where I'm uh not as on top of like my meditation. I try and stick to my routine, but then there's times where I'm like continuously doing it like, more often. And I can sense like certain days that if let's say I've gone like a day or two without even like one session during the day, I can feel like um things starting to build. So it's like a nice like release. And it kind of like pulls me in back towards, it's not like a chore of like something to do. It's like, oh, I don't feel as good, so I want to do this. I want to feel better.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. You've hit on something there, which is a lot of people give up meditation in the early days because they're not feeling the ROI. It doesn't feel like the amount of time I'm putting in is good enough in terms of what I'm getting out. But once you start to get that, once you start to notice that relationship between, oh, the days I meditate, I have much better days than the days when I don't, suddenly that motivation kicks in. So yeah, a lot of my job is just trying to keep people at it until they see that. So I'm really glad it's
Sure.
worked out for you.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, yeah, thank you for this conversation. I really appreciate it. And I'm sure anybody listening to this will hopefully have a bit of an insight into what can be gained by just putting in some time and effort into this kind of thing. So, yeah, cheers, Andy.
Thanks. Thanks, Jimmy. I really appreciate you.
Cheers. Take
All
it
right.
easy.